Okay, so take two on Bland Gaming here. So hey, we're in Meet My Players, and the reason why I'm laughing is because I just filmed about 5 minutes with my guest here today before I use his real name. And as you know, Bland Gaming is all about incognito. So we're on episode 2 of Meet My Players, and tonight I have Pattu with me. I know that we're repeating ourselves here, Pattu, but we do have some artillery rounds going on in the background in honor of our Company of Heroes game here. It's interesting because I emphasized to Pattu about, hey, don't say my real name throughout this whole thing. And what do? I'm the one that blows it and everything. So I do want to say, I have to repeat myself too, Pattu. Thank you for throwing our game tonight with Company Heroes and allowing me to win with the Royal Army here, with the
There
British.
was no throw. You whipped me. I was playing from behind the entire game, so
It was fun. That was a good one. That was a good Kickstarter. So, but this is Bland Gaming, and this is the second time we've done this now because I screwed up, and I have zero editing skills because we know that this is a caveman
I'll
channel.
never be as good as the first take. So
Right?
sorry,
Oh,
folks.
I know. That's all downhill from here. So the Bland Gaming drink of the day. What do you have tonight, Pattu? What do you got over there?
Got yourself a gin and tonic, a little bit of lime in there.
Okay.
Perfect drink for a hot day like it's been today. Very refreshing.
And it's a Tanqueray tonic and everything. So that's the good stuff. And I have a Buffalo Trace Old Fashioned here for me. Okay, so just before we were talking about how we met, and that's how I actually screwed up and actually said your name here. So tell us again. I think the way that you've described it to me is that like your life is office. You work at Office Space, the movie,
Yes,
right?
Office Space, the movie, part 2, remote work. I think that's the theme of my job.
Have you ever destroyed a printer?
Have I been directly responsible for it? I say in the office environment that I work at, there's a lot of paper. So
Okay.
We've I can't tell how many times we have to call that repairman. But
Okay, and have you ever filed TPS reports?
no
No TPS reports.
No
Okay,
TPS
all right,
reports.
okay. So, in review, because we just literally said this crap 2 seconds ago, you and I met through a mutual friend at the game store. He was a former coworker of mine who has since retired, and he has moved out of state to greener pastures and stuff. So, okay, and then I'd call you a middle-aged guy. You're younger than me, but I'd call you a middle-aged guy. You're definitely an adult. You're not a kid. And can we say you're a ginger, just like me?
Oh yeah, the redheads.
That's
unite
right.
Here in
We have power. Yep. We're coming back. Everybody kept saying we're going to be extinct, but we're coming back.
Yeah, I know they did say that. Didn't they?
And then I'm hoping you're married to my wife went to college with your wife, who we'll call Jade for this video. And Jade started coming to my game nights. And then you met Jade at my game nights. And then you guys started dating on the down low and everything. And then, and now you're married. You're happily married. And you're also welcome
2 years.
for that. Yeah. How's married life going?
It's going. It's going great. It's been a busy 2 years, but having that person next to you,
That's right.
It makes all the better.
And she's bitchin'. She's quite cool.
She is my better half.
Yes, yeah, she's amazing. We don't deserve them. But anyway, let's get into, okay, so tell me, you and I started out as board game buddies, and we did a little bit of board gaming tonight. I appreciate that. It's good to spend on a Friday night. So then we figured out it going into the role-playing games and stuff. Tell me about you and your brother are both D&D fans.
Yeah, that's really where I grew up playing your typical family games, but my first role-playing game is Dungeons and Dragons. That's where I started. Probably everyone. It was kind of the gateway role-playing
Gateway
game.
drug. Absolutely.
And from there, it's amazing how much the role-playing genre has expanded. I don't want to take myself too much, but when I was playing D&D, there was not too much else out there.
No, we did D&D, and then I think we did Gamma World. Have you ever heard of that one?
Actually, I've never heard of Gamma World.
So post-apocalyptic one, and then
Okay.
we did Twilight 2000, and then we did a science fiction one called Starfront 2. Oh, we did Marvel superheroes too, but back then it was just like TSR and Games Designer
There was
Workshop.
not
That
a
was
lot.
it.
And like board gaming, again, not to make us sound old, it was just kind of the family games. There wasn't a lot of the games like we have today. That it's really, and then once you got into the later 2000s, I feel like that's when a really board game.
No, but like in the 80s though, remember Axis and
Yeah.
Allies was like
There's your
huge.
There's
Everyone
your,
was like,
of course,
oh
I mean,
my
I played
God,
Axis and Allies well into the 90s,
Yeah.
but it just you had your games, but there's so many more now. The publishers are just there's so many good ones coming out every year now that you can't keep up with them.
Did you ever do any of the Avalon Hill games, or
yeah.
even the ones with the little you had the little cardboard squares, where it was like squad leader or stuff like that? Did you ever do any of those?
I mean, when you say Avalon Hill, immediately I'm thinking, of course, Axis and Allies, and
Well, Axis and Allies was originally Milton Bradley.
didn't they take over?
Avalon
Yeah.
Hill took it over, yeah. But I think it was a Milton Bradley game. But I thought, God, who was the people they made like the real hardcore war games where you're playing with the little cardboard squares and stuff like that. I think like Squad Leader was the one that I remember. I played that in college with a guy and everything. I thought that was really fun, but it was complicated. So, but then I think so. So I despise D&D. I pick on you and your brother both because I think D&D's dated. So so I've gone to greener pastures, but you still actually play D&D pretty regularly, right? In a different campaign.
Yes.
With a different DM.
Yeah, well, I think
who is not as good as I am. So
I tell you, we gotta D&D. It's not as awful as you say. I guarantee you, many people.
Just notice he just totally dodged that comment. No, just kidding. That guy, he is a great DM. He is a great player.
It really goes to the DM, and we'll talk about. I appreciate your DMing a lot. Maybe we'll talk about that as we get into some of these books. But really, I think the success of a game, I think a lot of people will agree, it really is the DM who's kind of setting the story, setting the scene. How flexible are you with your players and that sort of thing.
Well, but good players also make a good campaign. You cannot have a good campaign without good players. You have to have, especially in story-driven campaigns like what I run. Like there's sandbox campaigns, where the players are free to go and do whatever they want, and then there's story-driven where it's more like epic and everything. And the downside of story-driven is some people will say that, well, it's kind of on rails sometimes, right? But the plus side of that is, though, that you have a much more epic. I think you have more character investment and stuff. It definitely suits my narrative style. Now, I have played with your other DM. I've played as a player in one of his D&D games once, and he did a really great job. It's just the fact is that the only reason why I didn't participate is, one, I've kind of outgrown D&D, and two, I think that I prefer to DM rather than to play and stuff. So I like telling the stories, but he has played in 2 of my campaigns, and I think he is an amazing player. I've really been trying to entice him to come back and play with me again, but anyway. Okay, so I had heard that you were a role player, and I invited you. I think our first game. Let's talk about it, and then you got to be just like Malamus here. And this was our first game, because we played Alien.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your experience with Alien, what you remember with it when we first played it.
Yes, I mean, this is not my first rodeo with an RPG game. I'm kind of well experienced with that, but I had only really played Dungeons and Dragons before, and that was my entire experience. Many different DMs of all different skill levels, but going into a different style like this, and it's more of a story-driven game where it's a game too where you're going into it knowing that everyone's probably going to die, and that is just such a unique mechanic. You're not writing your story. This is the story of how you die, and that kept you on edge the whole time. And the ambiance of this game was so much fun. Just knowing that every little story arc, every little room we went into, I felt like there was a new chance of just an absolute disaster happening. I don't know how much in depth you want me to get into the story. I don't want to spoil it for people.
Oh yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to do the
introduction.
spoilers.
But I will say this: jumping into this game here, just with the different system. Now, this one, if I remember right, this one was this the D6 system?
Yes, and we played. Just for the people that are watching, we played the first scenario. We played.
I didn't want to confuse that. With
Chariot of the Gods, I think, is what we played.
Yes,
and
it was
you
just
were
fantastic.
You were like, you were one of the crew members. You
yeah,
were actually
I was
a pretty despicable guy. I think
I was a little,
just.
I won't swear, but yeah, just a little. It was roughneck, but just a little POS.
Yeah.
He was anti-authority, and it was fantastic because I could really play off one of our other characters.
Yeah, I remember
very much. And that was so much fun.
I remember that. I think probably, and I think I may have said this in Malamus's video, but one of the greatest scenes that I think I've ever GM'd was that.
So much fun.
It was the scene. You know, in every Alien game, there is that moment. There is that scene. And I remember that, I don't know if you remember this, okay? But after that whole scene went down and I was playing like music, I was playing the music from, it was one of the Alien movies that I was playing the music during that scene. Let's just call it the birthing scene, you know?
Yeah.
And it was after that scene, it was like quiet in the room for 1 second, and you were like, you were the first one to break the silence. You said, "Wow, that was intense," you know. So that was such a great scene. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And then in the second one that we played Hope's Last Day, and you were actually the commander. I think you were like the mission commander. You were the station manager or something.
Yeah, reverse roles really in the two different. It's a really fun environment, and I tell you, if anyone has not played in at least play one of the scenarios in there. It's a lot of fun.
So you did not get. Tell me about how did you avoid getting butt hurt from being killed? Because I think in the first one you were killed when the ship self-destructed.
Yeah, heck, I thought I was like, I might get out of this alive. But,
exactly.
But you know
we
what?
had another friend that turned out to be a very bad person, and in the second one, did you survive or did you die?
Oh no, I think I died. We were kind of trying to. It was a kind of a rush to get to the end there.
It was like an escape.
Again, no spoilers, but I think I was probably the first or second person to. Well, let's just say I probably took an alien mouth through the head or something like that. But, I don't think I.
Yeah. So you and I played a lot of campaigns together, and we were just discussing this actually before we started filming about one-offs and stuff. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer the one-offs of Alien, or because it seems to me that campaign mode is definitely possible in Alien, but it seems to me that the game is so lethal that it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah, and I think it's. And to answer your first question, it kind of, why am I so okay with, characters dying? Well, you go into it with the mindset that everyone's probably going to die. And there's a couple other games, too, that do that as well. But, yeah, you just kind of go into it, hey, how long can I survive? But really, if I'm one of those players, I just want to have a good time. I love a good story. Like D&D, you can have, it's, you're the hero, how much damage can I do? I'm going to throw out the biggest fireball I can. In this kind of setting,
it's
like,
dumb,
you're
really
you're kind of just surviving, and it's just fun to, see what kind of little shenanigans, how lucky you can get sometimes, but you know that you're ever just a second away from dying, and that's okay. Just have fun with it. Have fun with the story and appreciate the story. I'll say that. You have to appreciate the story, and that's where the difference sometimes is with a story-driven game versus a sandbox game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it may be on rails, but so is a movie, and it's just treated like a movie. You just kind of you're an actor in the movie, there's going to be an end. You're just kind of on the ride, enjoying a little theme park ride, and you get to the end, and you just have a good time doing it.
I love, like, in story-based games where you, like, I get invested in the characters and I want to know what happens next in their stories. Even though I'm the GM and everything, I'm like going, God, I want to, what happens in this next episode and everything. And I kind of create the framework, but it's really the players, like, fill in. It's kind of like, I'm doing the tree trunk, and then the players just have the branches and all the little fruits that come from it and everything. So, okay, well, let's talk about then. After we played Alien a couple times. We had some one-shots with it. But our first real campaign was when we played Gen Lab Alpha, when we played Mutant Year Zero.
Oh, yeah.
So in Gen Lab Alpha, so we talked about Gen Lab Alpha a little bit in Malamus's video. And there was the character that you were the character that was the moose, that was the seer.
Mystic moose.
Yes. So tell us about the moose. Tell us about your character.
Yeah, well, I mean, just Bullwinkle, a fortune-telling Bullwinkle. That's basically who the moose was. It was a lot of fun playing him. We got to do a lot of great interactions with your NPCs that you had. Trying to use the old wisdom of the moose to outwit. I kind of was playing him like a poor man's Gandalf in a way. Mm-hmm. You're the respectful seer of the group, but not the main hero. You're there to kind of be another support to the group.
That's interesting, because Malamus said that he thought that your character was kind of the leader. That he was kind of the leader of the group.
I had the old wise seer, but. But at the same time, Malamus's character, he had his own way of leading too. So I think we all had our strengths in this campaign, which again, I think that's a good group to have, where everyone has their strength and they can shine. I think that makes, I think, for a very fun group where there's not just one person who decides everything. Because I had plenty of failures too. Those darn guards, I couldn't read the fortune to them. They wanted none of it.
And we did the thing too where we tell us about the Legos. So we used the Legos.
Oh yeah, that was so much fun. So maybe to give someone some inspiration, this game, you have to remember it's apocalypse, and anything can be like some weird symbol. Your animals kind of picking up the remains after a human world. Think like Planet of the Apes. Like, here's a bag of Legos. What is this? So as a seer, those are my bones, my throwing bones, my little scrying tools. I throw the Legos out on the table, and from then I read a fortune for the group. Mm-hmm. We don't know they're Legos. To me, they're colorful artifacts of a distant past, mm-hmm. and they're just a rare item that no one else has, so they gotta have some power to them. And you know what? Maybe they did. Who knows?
But that was great. That was one of my favorite things about.
We threw real Legos on the table. That was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Tell the story from the Legos that you threw. Okay, here we go.
And again, not to repeat myself, but one of my favorite things about running Mutant Year Zero was being able to hand you guys real artifacts.
Yeah.
Like there was at one point where I handed Malamus an actual copy of Where the Wild Things Are. Mm-hmm. He found the little child skeleton in the car seat that was clutching the book. And, he saw it as a sacred book and everything. And I picked that book on purpose because it's like about a little human boy who is around animals and stuff like that. And if you haven't played Mutant Year Zero, particularly in the Gen Lab Alpha campaign, before they get out, they're kind of in this experimental lab that I think it's hinted that it's Yellowstone, and they're trapped there by these automated robots that were created by humans. So the whole idea behind it is that when it was a plague, and then the nuclear war came after the plague, but the plague was what was killing all the humans. And so what they did is they bred human DNA with animals in an attempt to try and find a cure and figure out a cure. And then also some of the Titan powers actually bred the animals to possibly use as soldiers in wars against each other. But anyway, what wound up happening is all the humans died out, and they just kind of forgot about these facilities, and the robots kind of kept them contained, and then the animals actually formed into tribes and stuff. And the whole campaign is about the animals breaking out of Gen Lab Alpha, it was just such a really well done campaign. I really liked it a lot. As I will say, the reason why we didn't finish this, the reason why we stopped, is we just ran into scheduling conflicts. It was just we couldn't get the same group of adults to meet every week and everything. And I think there was another campaign that was going on too. So there were 2 different campaigns, but I really enjoyed that one. Enjoyed running this one a lot. But yeah, I really liked being able to hand you guys real artifacts. There's at one point in the game where I handed your wife, like, you remember the duck that like was swearing all the time and everything. So the duck is like handing you guys a roll of duct tape, and you know, he throws it in the middle of the table, and you guys like all looked at it. And I think at one point someone picked it up and actually literally tried chewing on it like the character would. I thought, well, that was funny. And then the duck, like, I made him talk with a real Boston accent. He was constantly swearing, and it was funny because your wife actually took a piece of the duct tape and taped my mouth shut with it, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. You know, that her character did that. I thought that was great. I would really like to revisit this setting. This is one I really enjoyed. I would really like to go back to it. I don't know what you think.
Hey, the Mystic Moose, he's still around, so we can bring him back in his little bag of scrying Legos. Let's make it happen.
I think we might switch around the characters and stuff, but this is one I'd really like to see done again and everything. So, and then we had what Malamus calls these palette cleansers. So we kind of had a little side campaign that we ran, and we ran Tales from the Loop. Now, what's very interesting about Tales from the Loop is that some of my players were like, no, I don't want to play a middle schooler. They just thought that was dumb. And you and a lot of, quite frankly, a lot of the players from this group, from the Mutineer Zero group, kind of jumped into that with both legs and everything. And we had a lot of fun with that one. And I would say the way that I ran Tales from the Loop was I did not run it like that Netflix show, where it was just really slow and depressing and stuff. I think it definitely was much more inspired by Super 8 or Stranger Things and stuff when I ran it. And being that I'm an old guy that actually grew up in the 80s, I had a lot of nostalgia. I played 80s music when we played it and stuff. So what I thought was really interesting is the entire group, literally, they didn't even change their names. They made 13 and 14-year-old versions of themselves, except for you. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I made maybe I missed the memo, but yeah, I made a version of, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name from the Breakfast Club.
John Bender.
John Bender, thank you.
He was the criminal.
I was the punk criminal. I was a lot of inspiration from that character in Breakfast Club, but also very much kind of the guardian of the group, because I was the oldest of the group. But I tell you, this one now if I were to Aliens, I had a lot of fun playing in that scenario. Now this was more of a campaign than we played, because it wasn't a one-off like Aliens. Mm-hmm. I will say I had so much fun playing in this one. In fact, I think I had more fun playing in this one than in Gen Lab Alpha.
Really?
This one, I had so much fun because your storytelling in this one, now, this was great. The storytelling in Gen Lab Alpha was great. But because, like you mentioned...
Of course it was.
Yeah. Because it was the 80s, and you pulled so many fun references, because you could just tap into what you already knew. And you could pull things that are very relatable, and it was not quite. It has almost kind of a Cthulhu vibe to it, which something that it was kind of hinting. It's not Eldritch horror or anything like that, but it kind of has those vibes to it when you're playing it, like a mixture of almost like X-Files and Cthulhu kind of mixed into one.
I ran it as kind of a sci-fi horror type of game.
Yes, and it was so much fun. Just the way you ran it, I think Jade and I both were excited every single time we came to play that game. And I will say, the ending that you put together for that, I mean, I remember we had even some players that weren't in the campaign that stopped by that day. And your storytelling for that last night, those events, was just intense. I think we were all on the edge of our seats on that one.
And are you talking about the climax of the adventure or kind of the aftermath?
The climax of the adventure, the final. I almost want to say the boss fight, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That
Greta.
It was
so her name, that robot.
It was so Greta. Dark. Oh my gosh! When you told me, you said something to me, and it was so spooky, that because Greta had seen me, and you were like, do you want to be my brother or something, or do you want to be
she was making a family.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was like,
she was making a family.
I got this killer robot. I'm like, what, a 15-year-old kid?
Yeah.
Trying to get out of this place alive, and it was.
So
I was just intense.
I was heavily influenced by a Cthulhu adventure that I had read back in the day called The Happy Family. It was a really cool story. And I said, oh, this would be great for like this sadistic, insane robot that just wants love. But it's almost like, it's almost like an incel where it doesn't understand how feelings work and how relationships work. And it's almost, it doesn't. Remember when we had the comparison where the kids were reading Frankenstein in school?
Yes.
And there was the comparison to Frankenstein.
My character may have read Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah, none of you guys did, though. But I started the adventure with the discussion of Frankenstein in class, and then we ended the adventure with them talking in class, and I loved, I don't know what to call him because we don't have a code name for him yet, but your former DM who played as a player in this. And he was he reminded me of Mikey from the Goonies, where he was kind of the spiritual leader of the group and everything.
That I would agree with. I think spiritually, yes. I think he kind of was, a lot of points he was kind of the focus of that group. But we all had our places to shine too. Right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But I think that he was kind of the glue that held everyone together.
Yes.
And in the end of it, he caught on that, the whole Frankenstein reference was a reference to Greta, this robot that had been this creation that had gotten out of control. And then he made, when they were discussing it in class, he was almost like almost had like PTSD, where they were discussing Frankenstein after this whole ordeal was over and everything. It was just great. What did you think about how we started it in 2013 as you guys were all adults? And it was kind of like everyone was meeting at a bar in Boise because we made our thing. And then I had actually approached that player and I had said, hey, I want you to act nervous. And then I want you to say, I think she's found us. And then we would start the campaign. And I didn't even tell him what that meant, but he was the only one who knew that. So what did you think of that opening scene where there are adults kind of coming back?
I will be completely honest right now. You just said that, and I just put that together. I did not even realize that until just this moment. Oh, that's very creative. I remember that opening scene now. I kind of had forgotten we were adults when we started. Mm-hmm. Now, looking back, that's great storytelling. Nice job.
It is. I have since picked up things from the Flood where it takes place where they're high schoolers, but it's in the 90s, so it's more 90s culture. I like the idea of them playing as high schoolers. I have some very dark story ideas, and I would very much like to see where the kids that we had in this setting went next. You know what I mean? But on the same note, I don't think the 90s is as fun as the 80s.
Oh,
so
come on now. Come on now.
You're a little younger than me.
90s
so-
is where it was at.
No, I mean, the whole grunge and stuff. It wasn't as cool as
I had my
the
grunge
80s and
years,
stuff.
that's
So
for sure.
I know my kid, my 15-year-old, he is so into grunge music right now, and it's awesome actually because he doesn't like. He likes good music. He has very good taste in music. Okay, so let's go back to one of our other palette. Well, do you have anything else to add about Tales from the Loop other than the fact that you really want to play it again?
Yeah, I think out of all of these three, I would probably say I would love another one-off with Aliens, but yeah, Tales from the Loop would probably be my first go-to.
Interesting.
Out of all of these, until you get to this next one.
Well, we have players that in our group that absolutely refuse to play Tales from the Loop. I picked up a Transformers role-playing game, and there were like two guys that were like, absolutely not. There's no way they're going to play the Transformers role-playing game. I'm not going to be a robot.
I thought it was so much fun because and maybe they don't realize what you can make it like Eldritch horror. You can make it like that sci-fi mix, and that's.
What are your feelings about playing a kid though?
Oh, I don't know. You're just playing a character. You just have fun with it. You just try and get into that. When I play a character, I don't try and play it as me. It's kind of acting, I guess. But you just put you try and put yourself in the shoes of that person. Don't think what I do. What would they do? And
again, that's interesting because everybody else in the game didn't even change their names, and they had the exact same problems they had growing up and stuff like that. Even your wife, had made little 14-year-old versions of themselves and everything, and that was very interesting that you say that. But I think, do you think that some of us make characters? I'm thinking of your wife right now, actually. I got to interview her next. I'm going to interview her, and you're not allowed to come when I interview her. But, a lot of us make these idealized versions of the people that, like, their characters are basically reflections of what we want to be, or there's parts of our personalities in our characters, What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, of course, your character will be influenced by what you know, of course, but. When I create a character, sometimes I don't always know how their personality is, even when I jump into the game with them. It takes me a few sessions even before I even start. Okay, that's their personality. It takes me a few sessions before I even kind of start role playing them the way I want to. I have to kind of get into their shoes, and sometimes events in the game will help. Kind of that's now how I roleplay them. Maybe some event will happen and be like, okay, that's how they would. I roll a bad save or something. I'm maybe using a D&D reference, and I can be like, my guy's just really bad on.
Don't use D&D references.
Okay.
Not on planned gaming. No.
Maybe let's say Tales from the Loop. Let's say we have an instance where we have some sort of, maybe there's like an instance where I get scared that I see, maybe there's like a big spider instance, or or maybe the lights go out, and like within the first one or two sessions. Sometimes I'd be like, that's inspiration for me. Now maybe my character, I can role play they're scared of the dark, or they're scared of spiders. Sometimes I take what happens into a game to help shape my character within the first 3 sessions. That may not answer your question, but maybe some people can relate to that. I'm not saying anything wrong with creating a character that it kind of emulates you, that you're kind of maybe in a way creating a different version of yourself, and you kind of like, it's still me, but now I can shoot a lightning bolt out of my hand, or I can I have superhuman strength, but it's still me. Or sometimes you just create a character that they're completely different from you, and you just have to kind of put yourself in the shoes. How would this person with these character flaws act? And they don't have to always act the way you do. Like, what would they know? Don't think what you would know.
So
what would they
yes,
know?
I agree with that completely. As far as like metagaming is one of my biggest, and that is, I think, something that we did not discuss with Alien, is that it's very hard to not metagame. For instance, in that scene that we were talking about, that birthing scene, let's say, the players knew what was going on. right? Because everyone's seen the movies and stuff. But I think that group we had did an excellent job about reacting how their characters would, not how the people that have seen 5 Alien movies would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that was really well done. Yeah, I think you have a really good point that because it's interesting, like, you know, your character from Tales from the Loop is based off, you know, he's a criminal. But what I find really interesting, and I'll kind of put you out here, you know, to our viewers and stuff, is that like you're one of the most easygoing, nicest guys ever. You're like the most non-bender character.
It was hard
at all,
to kind
you
of.
know? If I had to,
but
if I had to say you were a character from The Breakfast Club, do you know who I would say you remind me most of?
Well, probably the other guy who got red hair in that.
Which one?
Isn't there the guy who had red hair in that one? Or no, maybe he didn't have red
no,
hair.
no.
Who was the nerdy guy in that one?
Brian, yes, Anthony Michael Hall. Brian, the nice guy that's really smart and everything.
I didn't have red hair.
Brian, yeah. I mean that is who I would have guessed. But you, in this campaign, you played a fantastic bender. Okay, let's talk about our next one here. So you're supposed to be flipping through these books. You're so bad at this.
Oh, I am so sorry. I should have been.
You're so bad at this.
Sorry, sorry, YouTube.
So let's talk about this. So we did play Delta Green, and what we did was, I believe Delta Green was a 1 or a 2 off that I did for Halloween one year. I said, all right, I'm going to run I like doing, and that's what we did with Alien too. Is I did a 1-2 session with Alien and whatnot, and that was a Halloween game. And then I think we played this one in 2 sessions, didn't we? With Delta Green. Tell us about your Delta Green character, because he is, so I have to tell you, when you are not around and people talk about your character from Delta Green, everyone loves him. They think he is such a great character.
So, again, it's finding inspiration. Maybe I find my inspiration from TV, and I mean, maybe that's not a healthy thing. But, so it's funny, as we've kind of progressed through these books.
Okay, talk and flip through the book.
This is the one that I would, actually would love to revisit the most. So as I kind of mentioned, maybe we did mention already, but very much an X-Files themed kind of story that they're doing in here. So I created a character that, if you know Stargate, for those Stargate fans out there, very much a Daniel character.
Yeah, he
was a nerdy sort of very nerdy character, but genius. He kind of I tried to role play kind of that kind of vibe from him. So it was not playing me at all as a person, but again, it was playing. I had inspiration, and it was so much fun because, and I play anti-military just like in the TV show. He's kind of a.
He wasn't anti. He just wasn't.
It wasn't anti.
He wasn't in the group. I mean, he wasn't in that club.
He's a civilian. You know, he's not.
Yeah.
It's not anti, but you know, he's still in it for, you know, the science of it and the knowledge, rather, where, you know, if the military, and maybe they're in it for different goals.
Yeah.
So it's that type of.
He was always stumbling and dropping things.
Very stumbling.
I thought was very charming.
Yes. You know, they give me a gun and here I'm fumbling with it. Like I don't know how to fire this.
Exactly.
Like I'm not a soldier. And it's like, oh, good grief. And then
and in the climax of that scenario, when there were the we won't have any spoilers, but there was the creatures that were coming out. He actually felt more comfortable. He jumped in one of the SUVs and tried to ram one of them.
I was like,
he felt more comfortable
I'm just
with
gonna
that.
drive an SUV right into this sucker.
And they had access to rifles and stuff like that, but he got into the car because
Yeah.
that was what he was more.
It was. This was so much fun, and I want to get back into it because it is. We only got the one shot. I think I only had the one shot on it.
Yeah,
and I would love to, because we were. The way it made it fun is that we were brand new kind of recruits into this setting. We didn't, you know, same thing if you think of Stargate. You know, the first time you see that Stargate open, or the first time, you know, in the X-Files, or maybe even I would almost get comparison to not too common, but like Men in Black. You know, the first time you see that stuff happening, it's like, oh man, you know. So I would love to kind of play that same group again, but now we're one mission in with that experience, and
Yeah.
there's still a lot of stuff that we could see, but like now we know there's a lot of weird stuff happening out there, and
Yeah.
this is a great setting. I really had fun with this
It
one.
is, and I think we played, I think, 2 other sessions and they were one-offs. I think you and your wife were busy with other stuff. I did run 2 other sessions with this, and one of the sessions the players really enjoyed. The players really enjoyed that initial setting that we played when you and your wife played. But I ran 2 other scenarios for it, and the one scenario they really liked, and the one other scenario they were like, they were not sure about. I think the issue was that we have a lot of people in our group, quite frankly, who are veterans. And so the people that wrote this game, at least in these 2 books, I've noticed some problems in some of the other books that they've written. But in these 2 books, they did a really good job with accuracy. But some of the veterans in the group were like having to really suspend some disbelief and everything, saying, "Well, wait a minute, it would never happen like that. That they'd never get away with that, because they have intricate knowledge of how federal bureaucracy works and stuff." But what I really liked about this game is the emphasis on madness. That it is just like, it's not the creatures that are going to gobble you up that are going to get you. It's the fact that you're never going to sleep again. That you're going to be in an insane asylum and stuff like that. And I also like, because this is a modern setting, I love using props as far as like creating dossiers and files and stuff like that. And everything. I love creating like case files and things like that I think I can. Like, you remember I gave you guys the case files, and there was the photos of the little boy and stuff like that, and stuff that was really fun to hand that to you guys and have you guys explore that.
I think we both really like that Cthulhu kind of vibe, where it's a lot of the unknown, but there's a lot of bad stuff happening.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you need to get me in a Cthulhu campaign if you.
Well, this is Cthulhu, but it's modern Cthulhu, right?
Yeah.
That's what Delta Green is and everything. So, yeah, horror's my bag, baby. I mean, I love horror. I love playing horror and everything.
Aliens and this.
Yeah.
And not that Delta Green didn't have horror, but the other 3 in here, I think, has that horror element to it.
Yeah.
And you have a really good job of kind of, things are going great, but you're really good at kind of bringing in those little points of horror and just little things. It's a nice way that I appreciate your storytelling in that.
Yeah, your wife is a very church-going person and a very sweet, nice person. But I think the only time I've ever heard her swear in my entire life is when you guys were locked in the chamber with that birthing scene in Alien, and she's banging on the door to get that woman to open the door up and everything.
Oh, that woman.
And she was in character, and she was swearing at the lady to open the door. I thought that was so amazing. It was awesome. I was like,
that
wow.
scene, you're right. That's probably the greatest.
Yeah. I was like, Jade, do you even know what that word means that you just said?
Maybe I'll flip through this Alien book while we're talking.
Right.
So I have to go back to that one. I hope you don't mind.
No, this is your video,
this is,
bro.
Yeah, I clearly had a lot of fun playing this with the group. So much fun, but it's what I had so much fun with this one because we had that amazing scene, which I agree, that might have been one of the best, if not the best, role-playing scenes I've ever been a part of myself as well. But I also had, it's so funny because I had like my own little adventure in this. Well, there was all this death and destruction happening with everyone else. And I'm sitting here like in the engineering bay in my own little, just cleaning, Like I don't have my mic's not on. No one can communicate with me. Everyone's getting this, but either injured or beat up, and I'm just whistling clean. It was just I had so much fun. Just
So we haven't had a chance to try it yet. There's 2 other versions of Alien that you can play. There's the well, I guess we did try the one. Because there's the colonist scenarios where you could play as a colonist. As a matter of fact, they just opened their pre-sales for Building Better Worlds, which is a campaign book about colonies and playing campaigns as colonists. So I backed that because I love the game. I back everything, almost everything by Free League, almost everything. There's a couple things where I'm like, but I would say probably 85% of all Free League titles I'm just so enthused about. And then the Colonial Marines. So I think the Colonial Marines is the only one that you haven't played. So what are your feelings on playing as Colonial Marines in Alien?
I mean, Aliens is clearly the best movie, so I would, hopefully no one takes offense to that.
Do you like it better than Alien? Because your favorite scenario was the space trucker scenario, where you were playing as Alien.
I do love the space trucker scenario. Now, here's the thing: movie-wise, I love it. I mean, it's just the Marines. That was so much fun. Now, I would love to play campaign with that, but I think the horror element of the civilians, I'd rather role play.
That makes sense.
But I will say having a one shot as a squad of Marines going in, that would be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Maybe we can take down one of those aliens this time, because that
will have to be something that we'll take care of now, isn't it?
Yeah. This is such people play it. It's at least do a one shot with it. It's so much fun.
I think maybe here we are in May, but October comes up pretty quick, so I'll probably run another Delta Green or Alien, or even Vaesen. I have to introduce you to Vaesen. That's an incredible game. But let's talk about our final game and our current game we're involved in right now. You are playing Conan with us. Now, my group has played 2 versions of Conan. So we played the original 2D20 version, and that group did not like that rule set. So what we did was we took the rule set for the Forbidden Lands and then just basically adapted, and it was an extremely clean adaptation to put it into the Conan world. So what do you think of Conan? How do you like Conan so far? This is your first time playing that setting, and then so talk to us about the setting, and then again we're talking about the Forbidden Lands rule set. Tell us about what you think about the Forbidden Lands being a guy that kind of bends the knee to D&D.
Yeah, I will admit, I came into Conan. I've seen the movies, but I didn't know a lot of the lore behind it. So I came in it was very fresh and it was very new. And with it being a very low magic setting,
all humans too, no demi-humans.
That's right, and it's what I like about it most. It's not that it's not all humans is fine, but you still get with the different cultures within the world of Conan.
Very different.
That's where you get.
Okay, we're talking about the cultures of the different cultures within Conan. So.
Yeah, as as you didn't introduce to either, it has a history major and someone who loves history, anthropology.
You and I have that in common, right?
The world of Conan, and just the way that really the author did it. It's very much inspired by just the world history, and going into that, not knowing that before, I almost feel shame that I didn't. It's so much fun kind of just getting into this world, and maybe that's why I'm enjoying it so much, because it's so new to me, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can relate this to this historical culture. Oh, this nation is this historical culture. We have Aclonia, or you have Shem, or you have Hyperborea. Like those all I can. That's a real culture in our world that's now in this fantasy world. That it's to me, that was so much fun learning about all of that, and then kind of now jumping into the group where I've kind of come in um, as one of the newbies, the new players of the group. You've had an established group that's been playing this campaign. You've done at least, did you 2 campaigns
Two
before I
campaigns,
joined?
yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, before you got married, your wife was a very big staple. She's a very major character in our last campaign and everything. So, yeah, I love her character. It's a great character.
The low, I really enjoy low magic setting. It is, it's, you don't have every single time you have, there's a risk if you are a spellcaster. There's a risk your brain could melt, and that's so much fun.
Well, magic is seen as a dark power in Conan. It's a corrupting power. Now, there have also in the books and in the lore, there have been sorcerers that have been able to harness the power for good, but it is not Harry Potter. It is not Gandalf. It is still seen as a horrible, corrupting power. I think the two things that Conan despises the most are slavery, and he despises magic. He doesn't trust magic users, but yet he befriends one guy, Hadathras is I think his name in the books, but he learns to kind of befriend them as he is older. He's much older and wiser. I think he's the king of Aquilonia in that story. But anyway,
and apologize to your viewers. I know Conan is such a rich. As I'm getting into it, there's so much lore and so much kind of rich lore in there that I'm having a great time getting into it. So I'm sorry I hadn't been into it before. To all the people saying, how could you not know about Conan? But hey, I'm getting into it now, and I'm loving every time we get into a game session. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, most people don't know that Robert E. Howard. It is as detailed, if not more, than say Middle Earth or anything. The world of Conan. The other thing I find that is really cool about Conan is that it's implied, and he and H.P. Lovecraft were like pen pals, and it's implied that the world of Conan is a pre-biblical age in the same world of the world of Lovecraft. So you see a lot of lore, and you see a lot of darkness, and you see a lot of the creatures that kind of overlap in the two of them. So where's your character? Tell us a little bit about your character from Conan.
So I am from Shem down here. For Shem, if you wanted to relate it to historical culture, this would be very much of the biblical area of the world. We're talking Middle East, or a lot of Babylon, or
Arabia.
Arabia. I almost call it almost north of Arabia,
Yeah,
almost in that area around. Jerusalem, and it's kind of that biblical area of our world, and it's there, but a lot of Persian kind of influence in here as well.
Definitely.
Especially with my character being very much inspired from the immortals of Persia. They're the Ashuri, which if you know Conan, you probably know what that means. But yeah, definitely very much a well-trained soldier in a well-trained army. Basically considered the best of the best, or at least they think they are. As my character does. Spear, shield, horseback, archer. They are to Persian immortals. If you want to understand what an Ashuri is, that would be a good inspiration, or a good way to explain that.
And your wife is a noble knight from Aquilonia. Which is not too different from her in real life. So that was interesting. And then you have a pirate that was born in Argos, that was raised in Vanheim and became a reaver in Vanheim.
You should describe what the different cultures are historical in the.
Well, yes, Argos is very Greek type of culture.
I would say very Athens, Greece.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, different Greece culture, very Athens, Athenian.
Yep. And then Vanaheim and Asgard are both kind of Scandinavian. Vanaheim I almost picture more like the Norwegian type of, well, I think Asgard is more like the Danes and the Swedes, per se. Samaria, which is where Conan is from, is actually based on our people. They're the Celts. They're the Celtic peoples of, of Scotland and Ireland. And then we have another player that is from Zamora. Zamora is also another Arabic country, and Zamora is kind of the armpit of Hyperborea, of Hyborea. It's interesting because Hyperborea is a country that's up here. It's a very Slavic Russian type nation. Hyborea is actually the term that is used for this little continent here. But anyway, Zamora is like a shady kind of Arabian Nights little underbelly, knife in your back, and very much the guild, almost like the Thieves Guild type of City of a Thousand Secrets kind of thing. And he's a very interesting character. He's the chic of them all, and he is one of, I would say, if not the de facto leader of the group. And he has like very little combat skills and whatnot, but he's a merchant that is very smart, very suave, very good looking.
Yeah, smooth talker.
Very smooth talker. And then our other two players are both Vanheim. There's one that is a druidic character, where he was in the world of Vanheim, everyone's redheads. There are people here, Pattu. They're gingers, and in Vanheim, the only acceptable sorcery is the druidic sorcery, but it's restricted only to women. And one of our players, who is male, said that his mother had taught him the forbidden ways, and he's kind of an outcast because of it. And then his only companion really is his cousin, who is also a hunter, like an archer. He's I think, as that player calls him, is the world's best archer kind of thing. But yeah, it's just so great. One of the things that your wife told me, that she said this was her favorite setting that she's played with me. And the one thing that she liked about it was that it was so different. You could have the greens of Aquilonia, the plains of Samaria, the winters up above of Vanheim, and then the deserts down here of Stygia and Shem. Stygia is a very Egyptian culture.
Yes.
Also, Stygia,
Nubian kind of Egyptian.
Oh yeah, and I mean, very much while other countries shy away from sorcery, the two countries that really embrace it are Stygia and actually Hyperborea. So the Russians and the Egyptians are the ones that really do it. The thing I really enjoy doing too is when I'm speaking as the different people from their cultures, I like to try and imitate the accents and stuff. Like Namibia is actually Germanic, almost Prussian type peoples, and almost like Germanic, like Holy Roman Empire type people. So I always like to play Namibians as speaking with a Russian accent. I'm a sucker. I play Aquilonians as sounding very French and whatnot. But and then obviously Sumerians, I like using Scottish accents for them. But yeah, it's such a rich world. It's a really good one. I love it.
Yeah.
So, what about the rule set? How do you like the rule set? It's very quick. It's very easy. It's very not D&D.
Yeah. So it almost brings up an interesting question too. So. As you mentioned, the base, the book itself, this is a 2d20 system, as you mentioned at the start. Yeah. But we transitioned to a d6 system, a success kind of system. When you roll a number of d6s, you get a number of successes, and that kind of determines how well you either succeed in a task, or if you fail too bad, you may hurt yourself or cause some negative harm. So starts with the D20. We transition to a D6 success system. Now, I do like the D6 system because it really helps. It's very much a storytelling system. Whereas if with the D20 system, it's very kind of statistic driven, and you can storytell in anything. But with the D6 system, it's less about, because you're going to succeed a lot of the times, but what's the difference between 2 successes versus 4 successes? You can really elaborate on the story on, but what you did, you had either a small success or you had an extreme success. I was going to ask you too, there's another system which I don't know if it's in any of your books. So you have your D20, your 2D20, you kind of have a D6 success system. Did you ever do the D100 system?
I don't think so. Is that which systems use that? Which game system?
So I can't remember I know it's one of the Cthulhu games use it. I can't remember the name of the game.
Well, Call of Cthulhu and even Delta Green uses like a percentile system.
Percentile, yeah.
Who uses D100?
Delta Green.
Delta Green, okay. So the answer is yes. So we've actually played that. So.
Yeah, that one I like too. Now I've seen with Cthulhu, you get your skills. Yeah, if you have, I don't know. It really talks to me with a percentile. You have a skill of a 50 or a skill of an 80, and rolling either you're rolling below that. So you may be really skilled in something, and based how well you roll in that percentile, you get a really extreme success or a minor success, that sort of thing. That's but it's got that same storytelling. It's much more of a storytelling die system than a D20 is.
And to be fair, you've never actually played the 2D20. Now,
I have not
said that
I have not.
It was a little bit crunchy was the term. So I'm not going to get too into that, but my players did not care for it as much. I don't know if your wife ever talked to you about that, because she played one of her first role-playing experiences. This was the second role-playing game that she played with me. The first one being Battlestar Galactica, and then this was the second one. And she went right from Battlestar Galactica into this one. And Battlestar Galactica is a very rules-light setting, and then Conan is a very rules-heavy setting. Your wife, though, I would say she focuses more on the role-playing part of it, and then when she wants to swing and kill something, she's like, okay, what do I roll, guys? And then we tell her what to roll, and then she she usually winds up killing everything in sight and stuff. But I don't think she was a big fan of that either.
We recently, my wife and I, we tried out, or we kind of were watching a percentile system. She actually really liked it. It was something she thought, I can understand that, and really easily say, I just need to roll under this. I need to roll under a 50 for a success. That was really easy to understand.
Well, we did play it with the Delta Green. That was something that she did do, so we did do that. But the D6 system, they call it the Year Zero system, because Mutant Year Zero was the first, it was the Free League creation that created it. I like it because it's rules light and it's quick. And one of the things I did not like about the D20 system and some of the other systems is it felt like when combat started, we stopped role-playing and we played a board game. And we got all the miniatures out and we got all the boards out, and then it became a miniatures game. And then it also, we would play 10 minutes of combat and it would take us 4 hours to play it. And it just sometimes would drag because there was so many rules and stuff going on. And I felt like we lost a lot of drama in that scene. And the whole thing too is it moves in slow motion, which I get, but if you've ever been in a real fight, it's chaos. It's not organized when you have all the maps and stuff like that. It's like you can only see what's in front of you, and it's loud, and you've got adrenaline going through you and whatnot. So it's confusing and stuff. So I think that I like the theater of the mind if we can. I do use miniatures for reference. So if people sit there and go, well, I didn't realize that guy was right behind me. So I still wind up doing that. But I've strayed away from the whole, all right, well, you can move X amount of hexes a turn and whatever during combat and stuff like that. The thing I like about Free League, and I will be the biggest supporter ever of their games, is that they've designed them where you could either do a loose map-based game, or you can do it completely theater of the mind. So,
Yeah, and I even bringing up that question. Oh, this is a fun map too. Showing that one, just
all the
as you can
different
see the
tribes.
different tribes of, and it's funny the moose that I played actually doesn't have a tribe on here, so I'm kind of a wandering character, which made me even that much more of a kind of an interesting kind of mystic kind of character. There's no moose tribe, or just a kind of a wandering solo person or animal person, I guess in this case. But I asked that question because I think someone who came from D&D, where I've only used the D20 system. Now, I love the D20 system. I mean, give me a D20 for a gift. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. A new D20 to roll in D&D. But I think for a lot of players, if you haven't tried some of these other systems out, if you've only been in D&D, try these other systems out, because I think you'll be shocked how fun they are. I mean, yeah, rolling D6s for success. I mean, chances are maybe you roll a success each time, but that's fine. I mean, then it goes. It's more of the, like you said, story of the mind sort of thing. It's what does one success mean versus 2 successes or 4 successes? Try out different systems, because I think the D20 has such a strong hold, or that's what people know. I don't think a lot of other people know these other systems. I mean, I didn't, and D&D is so mainstream. I think that D20 is such a mainstream system.
Yeah, I had never even heard of Free League, and believe it or not, my first Free League game I ever bought was actually Tales from the Loop. I went out and I bought this one, and I had read things about the kids on bikes scenarios, and I thought that was great. And then the next one that I bought was actually Mutant Year Zero. I bought that one, the original set, and then I bought Gen Lab Alpha not long afterwards. And the thing that I love about Mutant Year Zero that's so cool is that they sell each one of the books. There's like the robot book, there's the mutant book, there's the mutated animal book, and then you even have the pure human book. And all of them are standalone campaigns, and then you can buy all 4 books, and then you can play, supposedly they're all compatible. Now, I have read online that the robot characters are combat-wise a little bit overpowered, but I don't know. I think you just have to have a discussion with your players, and I am fortunate where as a GM, I have great players where they are, they're not playing World of Warcraft, the role-playing game. I mean, everyone, we celebrate our weaknesses in our players more than we do their strengths and stuff, and I think that's what's really
you gotta
cool
have
about
flaws.
it.
That's what makes a character interesting, and and sometimes you don't have to be the hero every single game.
Absolutely.
And I think a character with flaws is so much more interesting, and give everyone a chance to shine in the game, and just have a good time. That's really all we want at the end of the day. Have a good time, enjoy a good story, and just be around people that you just want to hang out with.
Yeah. What game that we haven't played that I own would you look forward to playing next? What are you excited to play? What do you want to play?
I think I think I mentioned it earlier. Was that because you have that Cthulhu?
I have Call of Cthulhu, where it takes place in the 20s. Yeah.
Yes,
You're a big history guy. I think you would like that.
That's the one that I would. I think I would like to play that. Again, it's one of those. From what I know of it, it's one of those games that and you're probably not going to live. It's very much kind of that maybe a one-off alien sort of theme. You're going in, you're probably going to go insane, but let's have a fun time with it. I think that's going to be.
Your wife played that one with me way back when. That was like early on, I think. I think that was even before.
Yeah, she mentioned that actually. Yeah.
Did she like that one?
She did. I think we were kind of watching another group play a scenario in that. I think since she had played once before, then watching this group go through a scenario, she really could relate to it, and then she really then started, I see what Rob was trying to do here with that. But Another person that we know. Sorry, we're not supposed to name drop there, but she was very. She really, I think she really enjoyed that system. Now that she has some time to digest it, I think when the game was going on, I think there was a lot of kind of jokes that were happening, a lot of silliness that were happening, from what I understand. And
Yes. So that is a good point. So we had one player in that game that was just cracking jokes all the time. And it goes to show that mood in these horror games, whether it's candles, whether we use the low electric lights when we played Alien, whether you're using scary music and stuff like that, mood is so important when you're role playing horror. And an occasional joke is okay. I think in Alien we had a couple giggles and everything, but as long as you don't just get off. But it was a constant one-liners, just one-liners, 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 and it completely destroyed the mood, and no one was creeped out, no one was scared, and yeah, I think that's a very good point to bring up. I think that's also true with any. I mean, we're here to have fun, right? But on the same note, we're also telling a story, and if everyone is doing slapstick humor throughout the entire process and stuff, then the story just doesn't make sense, and it just isn't. It isn't as enriching as if everyone is into it, and I like to. There's some kind of lighthearted story arcs that I like to play, but I would say I definitely favor darker tones and everything. I'm not really good at sensitivities and political correctness in the gaming and stuff like that. I mean, for me, I'm very thankful that a lot of these horror games, like Conan, like Call of Cthulhu, like Delta Green, they have not gotten to the point where they're starting to get censored, or they're starting to moderate content in them to be more sensitive. And I'm glad that they haven't done that yet. Because I would hate to see modern sensitivities move into those settings there, and I guess that's another whole can of worms and stuff like that. But yeah, I want to be disturbed. I want to be terrified when I'm playing those games and stuff like that. So, but I think the thing is you just know your players, and if you have players that have particular sensitivities, then you lean towards games like Mouse Guard or lighthearted D&D and everything. But if you really like the people, that if you have that group that have a little bit of hunger, where they're like, okay, you know what, scare me, then that's your Call of Cthulhu group. That's your Delta Green group. That's your Alien group and whatnot. So I don't do cons. I don't go and GM strangers and whatnot. All the people that I GM are all adults, and they're all professional adults, and they're all friends that I know intimately, so I know about where to go and where not to go, so I don't ever have to worry about that. So, but anyway, well, I think we have made a lot of progress here tonight. So, all right, and so you want to play. What did you say? You
Call of Cthulhu?
Call of Cthulhu. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to play Call of Cthulhu. Okay. So maybe for Halloween, I'll get a really good crackling fire 1920s Call of Cthulhu scenario, and I'll play some 1920s music, have make a speakeasy ambiance going in the background and stuff like that. So, well, Pattu, it's been well over an hour here, and your wife was wondering where you are. Luckily, you're within walking distance of my home.
True.
So,
Yeah.
so thanks for coming and talking to us here tonight. This was fun. Please come back and talk to us again. And then,
Thanks, Deeb. Appreciate it, and thanks again for all the great stories you've been telling for, gosh, several years now that I've been coming here. And
well, I can't wait to do more, man. And I'm really happy to hear that you guys like Tales from the Loop so much, because I really thought this was just filler. But if you guys really liked it that much,
was a lot of fun.
I like that. So.
Maybe you just need the right group to play it, but
we had a great group
yeah,
that played it. I thought that was a really good group. The hardest part is just getting everyone to show up. You know what I mean? That's the toughest part. So, well, anyway, listen. thank you very much for coming and talking to us, and thank you all for tuning in to Bland Gaming, the technologically most inept channel on the internet. I am Deeb, your host, and again, thanks again to Pattu for joining us, and thanks again, Pattu, for coming and playing Company Heroes on a Friday night with us. That was great. So we'll see you guys next time, and thanks for tuning in. In the meantime, keep it scary, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Hey,
Bye.
good night.